Hey, hello everybody. Thank you for coming tonight for another episode of Within the Cauldron. And tonight I have a couple of friends. One is an organic farmer from Eco Farms in Tennessee, and the other one is a cousin sister of mine in Colorado who lives off grid, Jennifer. So let me bring them up. Hey guys.
Hey.
Hill.
I'm kind of excited tonight because I know when I thought of this, I was thinking, what would they go together or not? Organic farming and off grid. And I thought, why not? I think they go together. So, um, I'm going to start with you, Mark.
Okay.
The very first question I have for you is, what exactly is organic gardening, and how does it differ from traditional gardening?
Organic gardening is the use of organic elements or natural elements in your gardening without the use of corrosive or poisonous chemicals. All too often, people will see an organic label and think everything is organic. That's not always the case, which I'll get into later. But it's definitely a different method of production. I'm an old school Chaligi or Cherokee farmer. Um, our people have been raising produce for generations, and the practices I use that are 100% ecologically sound. So everything that I use comes from nature, from pest control to fertilization methods. We don't use any kind of chemicals at all. We don't use any genetically modified organisms or GMOs. We have found that a lot of them contain weed killer gene built into the plant. So, I hold a degree in biology and used to write for Mother Earth News and Grit magazine. And it's kind of important to me. And the differentiation between organic production and standard production is the fact that they'll use chemical fertilizers or chemical agents. They will do things like inject watermelons with compounds to force them to ripen much earlier, which gives them a bitter flavor. And a lot of the chemicals that are used in production, both from fertilization to forced ripening of certain things to the genetic manipulation of the plants, along with pesticides, are quite toxic, and most of them are carcinogenic, so cancer causing. So, organic production to me means you know what's in your food, and it's only something natural like the Creator has created or the Great Spirit.
Cool. Um, so what are the core principles of organic gardening?
The core principles are to produce something as natural bound as possible, meaning that if I produce, for example, fertilizer, I'll use humus, I'll use compost, and I use various techniques to activate the soil and get the microorganisms going. For example, I use a lot of fungus and things in my production. One of the things that I found is an excellent catalyst to start compost quickly is biological agents you can get for the septic. You can get natural bacteria for your septic tank. Well, those bacteria are completely organic, completely natural. And if you introduce them into a compost bed, you're supercharging it. I also use a lot of shredded paper, newspaper, cardboard, and vermiculture. So I use worms to produce fertilizer. And of course, they make the best fertilizer in the world. The worm castings are by far, hands down, the strongest natural fertilizer you can get.
That is so cool. And what are the benefits of growing an organic garden?
The benefits is really, I'm a foodie, and I used to own a chain of restaurants, field to table, and the flavor, believe it or not, that's really the benefit. The trade off is that we trade convenience. Like you see tomatoes at the grocery store that will just about bounce. They really won't bruise, and that's not natural for a tomato. Some of the organic heirlooms are much softer, and you have to use them quicker. We sometimes call them ugly tomatoes because you get one that's misshapen or funny looking, but it'll have the best, absolute best flavor. They think everything has to be a cookie cutter, to be flavorful, and I found that that's just not true. Many of the modern species that you see, for example, on the illustration behind you, it shows carrots.
Mm-hmm.
Carrots are not orange naturally. Carrots were created to be orange, but they were not orange originally. Bananas didn't look like that. A lot of the produce on the screen, believe it or not, looked different originally. So they have taken those characteristics out as trade outs. And when you raise something organically, you're getting the flavor that was designed into that product plus the health benefits. I mean, there's I could go into the pharmacokinetics of it, but it bore you. But does just say that it tastes better and it's better nutritionally for you.
You're getting me hungry. Talking about all this food. Um, Jen, you live off grid now for about 10 years or 8
This is
years?
my eighth winter. This is my eighth winter.
8 winter. Okay. So what motivated you to live off grid?
Well, Mark, I don't know if you've seen me. I'm sitting here nodding because I used to own restaurants too in Iowa. And I was really, at the time, I wasn't even self-aware enough to know why I was so disenchanted with the whole process of it. But I was more like, I want to know where this food is coming from. And I want to know that it's healthy, that I'm sending out there, and plus I'm a kitchen witch. So everything I do, my intentions go into that food. So it's a whole language to me. So the whole composting, the human manure, I have a compost toilet, like we have a lot of commonalities, Mark. And I do think that us two being on this show tonight, it plays hand in hand because a lot of the things that I'm learning out here the hard way are how to be a better steward to the land and how to be healthier. I mean, it was a whole forced health reason to come out here. I knew that I would have to work my ass off. I
Right.
felt 10 years ago that the proverbial shit was going to hit the fan, and I wanted to be prepared. I didn't know what it was going to be. I'm still up in the air, but I know it's happening. So I know that the things that I needed, I mean, like the things that are happening right now in the world,
Mm-hmm.
I have started to, I'm lucky, thank the goddess, that I am smart enough to, or intuitive enough to know that these were some of the skills I was going to need to have. I would have never known these things. So I feel like there's a big movement for a lot of people to want to get back to what they can, being
Mm-hmm.
natural, the more simple way of life. So that's kind of what drew me to it, is that I wanted to teach my boys something. I feel like as a society, our kids are somewhat softer than us Gen X kids are, and we're kind of a feral bunch. And these young kids don't know some of the skills that I feel like we know. So I'm trying to teach my boys something. I raised them as a single mom, so I want to just like to give them some skills and something to have. Like I have this homestead that we have built from the ground up. My 14-year-old kid and I came out here 8 years ago with no clue of how to do this, and now I have a homestead and I'm breaking ground
Mm-hmm.
on an earthship, and I've made it out here. So I mean, there's a huge sense of accomplishment, and that's what I was hoping for when I left, is that
Oh,
this
yeah.
part would open.
Yeah. I
Sorry.
remember when you first came um, on day one, and you kept
Yeah.
asking me, "Am I crazy? Am I crazy for doing this?" And I kept saying, "No, no, you're not. You're great. I envy you."
Well, we're a
Um,
little crazy. I mean, you got to be a little crazy. I mean, honestly, I gave up all modern. I didn't
yeah,
know the
yeah,
learning curve is fear. That's all.
and
you
that
know,
goes into our next question. Are you comfortable with the simple lifestyle, potentially with less access to the modern convenience?
honestly, I feel like it is such an empowering thing to have to reprioritize all the other things that took up your
Mhm,
life when you did it. When I just work a lot, and I find it very very fulfilling to take care of my animals, to tend this land, to everything that I create. So I mean, like, I'm really, really super okay with the more simple way of life, even more so than I thought I would be. I mean, it gets lonely and it's hard, but I feel like there's a sense of pride in that too. You know, like I I am more empowered as a human being over these past 8 years than I have ever been in my entire life. So yeah, I'm okay with it.
Awesome. Somebody wants to say hi to you.
Okay.
Hey, I don't know if you can see me. Can you see
There.
me? Yeah. Oh, okay, there we go.
Beautiful. I miss you.
I
How's
love
the
you so
job?
much. It's going. It's going.
Heard, girl, heard.
Yeah.
I love you.
I
Message
love
me.
you so much.
She decided to pop in and say hi to one of her favorite women. So, how do you manage your time and your daily routine in the off-grid setting?
Well, okay, so I came out here with my 14-year-old, and you know that Dayans went back to Iowa because there's not a lot of girls and there's not a lot of jobs out here. So I
Right.
have been doing this solo for 3 years now. 3 years I've been out here by myself. So I have
Mhm.
that book, you know, I show it every year. It's my homestead book. I make this list of honeydews. I'm the honey and I'm the doing, and then I just figure it out. I don't know what I'm doing. That is a disclaimer that I put on everything. I don't know. I think which is what makes a homesteader a homesteader. You just figure it out. You
Yeah.
make it work because so that's how I manage. I go to work. I work to pay to put money back into the homestead. Eventually I won't have to do that because I have a food truck. And so I
Yep.
can work when I want to and just go to events. But everything is pretty methodical for me right now because I feel like I'm getting older. This stuff is getting harder. I have
Yeah.
finite amount of time to get this stuff done. So I'm going to work my ass off as hard as I can so that in like less than 10 years, I just get to enjoy the benefits of my hard work.
Wow.
So that's how I manage. I just take off one little thing at a time. Every day I write down even the mundane stuff, get propane, split wood. I write it down, I cross it off because when I feel overwhelmed and like I don't know that I'm not moving fast enough, I just look back and I was like, Mo, look at that, look what you did. So that's
Well,
how.
like I said, I've been with you on day one when you first moved out there and everything. And I feel so bad moving away from Colorado because I feel like Chris and I could help you out with some of the stuff, especially when both of the boys are back here now.
Man, you
You
have
know,
to see it now. Like you have to see it now.
well, you're
I'm so
badass.
excited. Like I have a herd of animals now. Like I have 29 animals. Like who would have? Okay,
Yeah.
Mark, if you would have known me like 10 years ago, if you would have asked me if I'd be out here herding bison on the weekend and like in the middle of with no electricity for 8, I would have told you were nuts. Could you have ever
I'm,
seen this? I wasn't. This is not
I'm
any.
going to say I'm proud of you.
No, thank
I am
you.
absolutely. I have wrote for years and spoke on this. We're off grid too, and I've been in that technology for years, and I think that it's the common sense thing to do because
Absolutely.
being so, we're not reliant on others. I
Absolutely.
come to understand we're in a consumer society. So every time you've got to go to Walmart to buy something or to take something to your home, you're a consumer. And usually consumer products are inferior. Like you understand with food truck. You
Absolutely.
know, we did not have food trucks and we had the largest restaurant in Townsend, Tennessee, which is right outside of Cades Cove in the Smoky Mountains. We didn't have food trucks. We got to the point where everything was coming from farmers. The only food truck we had was Coca-Cola and Mayfield ice cream because I didn't want to get into making ice cream and nobody locally was doing it. But I think that there is a benefit to that. The more sustainability is freedom. And that's what I tell people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And
there's such a sense of humbling sense of freedom in that. Like I don't even know. Like it's hard for me to even verbalize sometimes the
Mhm.
amount of respect I have for this whole way of life.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a Gen Xer too, and I get it.
Uh-huh.
My generation, like a few of us listened to our grandparents, but like our grandparents, if we think back, a lot of Gen Xers will remember our grandparents were pretty self-sufficient. They
Uh-huh.
canned, we can 1,000 quarts a year for what we eat here at the farm. That's not
I
counting
can
what we
do.
sell or what we put off the
I
farm.
found a steamer canner. Have you ever used a steamer canner? It's my new best friend. Instead of water bathing, man, I'm on it. If you hold still
Yeah,
long enough, I'll put you in a mason
yeah.
jar and I'll can you.
We run two at a time so that we get 14 quarts off at a time.
It's just me, but and I don't have a whole lot of space, but eventually I'd like to have a cellar a pantry so I can
Yes.
can
I
definitely.
teach a lot. I teach a lot of the things that you're using in your day-to-day life. I have taught about for years, and I love people like you. If you ever have any
I taught
questions,
a culinary. I taught culinary and I taught canning. Like at
well,
co- or
can you have you ever
both these-
canned cake? Have
I'm
you ever
sorry.
canned cake? Have you ever canned a
Yes,
cake?
and cheesecake too.
Yes, yes, yes. The first person in 25 years to tell me yes.
Really?
That's fantastic. Yeah, yeah. A lot of
Oh,
people hadn't figured out how to, oven can.
just about
And
anything. I'm a
yeah,
rebel
you can.
canner. I'm a
Oh,
rebel
I am
canner.
too.
Don't tell me.
Me too. Me too. Yeah. So
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
freedom.
Sorry,
But
Christy. What did you sorry. What was the
if you,
question, Tim?
Well, the next one goes to Mark here.
Okay.
Um, so, Mark, what are the different types of organic fertilizer and how do you apply them effectively?
well, I'm glad you asked that question because each plant has different nutritional requirements. And if you can figure out, like I have 3 acres of tame blueberries that are mature, and blueberries require high acidity. So you would have to find something potentially to put in the soil that's acidic. And the best thing that I found in the world is just good old natural wood chips. Wood
Hmm.
chips will release that pH that the plants need. It's natural. It'll hold water well and underneath, and plus the fungus and mycoflora that develops is all beneficial to that blueberry. When I'm doing something like potatoes, that's a different. My potato recipe is scary. I raise 15 pounds on each plant, and I do so with grass. Now, everybody cuts their grass, and you have riding lawnmowers and stuff, but get a bagger, catch the grass. When you're a little kid and you was running, you slide through the grass. Did you ever get those green stains on your knees?
Oh, yeah.
And the washing machine didn't want to take them out, and your mom was about to get you because
Right.
clothes were expensive. That's
Yep.
because the molecules of chlorophyll are smaller than water. So
Mhm.
if you put grass in a bucket and pour it full of water, you take a broom handle and churn it up and down like a butter churn,
Mhm.
and then drain the water off. It'll be a real deep green, and it's saturated with the chlorophyll. The chlorophyll's so small, if you water your plants with it, it's getting an artificial boost of chlorophyll, which is what
Nice.
the plant uses for photosynthesis. And without a chemical messenger telling the plant to shut down its own production, it produces the chlorophyll it would normally produce. Now it's getting a plethora of it through the soil, which it'll take up readily through the roots, and you'll wind up with crazy plants just using grass. I use stuff like burnt eggshells. We'll toast eggshells in a fire, grind it up,
Yeah.
and that makes you the best tomatoes. So it's like different things that you can use if you need potassium and you eat bananas. Take the banana peels, put them in water, so let it set for about 3 days with the banana peels in the water, churn it up and down, take the peels out of the water, and you have the best potassium water that you could ever get for your plants.
So perfect.
You'd probably be interested to know that I'm at work in the cannabis industry as well. And I worked for one of the two completely certified organic growers in the state of Colorado, and they used this awesome tea of some of the things you were just talking about. So everything was absolutely organic and natural.
Wow. Well, I love this because that actually goes into the next, well, it's coming up the next question. But the other question is how can someone test to determine its nutrients levels and the pH balance?
That my question or for her?
No, that's your question, Mark.
Okay, they have pH meters that you can get that are really cheap and economical, and they have a little battery in them. You literally got a little probe you can stick in the soil, and it'll tell you what you really need to know about that plant. And then, a good farmer, honestly, is going to do succession planting and companion planting, because some plants do a lot better with other plants around them, especially for like pest control. Like if you really want some bang up tomatoes and you don't want bugs, plant marigolds around your tomatoes. They love each other. But
Cool.
if you do your research and you figure out what the nutritional needs of the plant is, you can actually plant things that will replenish like nitrogen back into the soil. So if I need a nitrogen rich, let's say that I plant corn in one section, then the next year I will plant sweet peas and I'll do all my pea production where my corn was. The reason why is when the pea plants die and I till them up into the soil, they release tons of nitrogen back into the soil. So and it's also good with like if you like she has bison. I've raised cattle, would love to get in bison, but you're not raising bison, you're actually raising grass. And that's what I tell people, or you're not raising cattle, you're raising grass. When you raise good grass, then the animals are the byproduct. So everything revolves around the feed cycle. And if you get good at the feed cycle, like pasture management, rotational grazing, you can even raise them in smaller footprints, but you have to learn how to graze them so that the plants have time to recover. Bison are beautiful that they don't eat the grass off like a cow. Cow will eat it clear down and kill it, and horses are the worst. They'll grab the roots, pull roots and all out. So,
wow.
sheep do the same thing. But if you learn how to
In
effectively
the
manage,
interest of, in the interest of
yeah,
full disclosure, it's my neighbor's herd. I just have a couple of them in the herd that will always be mine and
that's
never.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's
My neighbor has
awesome.
6,600 acres. I don't have a whole lot of neighbors. So,
Woo. Yeah. You
I had
need
a
it
couple.
there though.
Yeah. Well, and I had a bison stampede on my property a couple times, few times. No.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she
That's
has
cool though.
videos of it. Yeah.
I love watching the bison. They're
Me
so
too. I
beautiful.
hang with them all the time. They're like my friends. Like literally, they're my friends. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just trying to convince people like tourists to not go up and pet them, not understanding. I get tickled at the videos with the tourist that goes flying with the buffalo, It's like, let's go pet the fuzzy attack cow,
See, I feel like I get that. And I wouldn't tell everybody to do it, but there are certain ones of the herd that I can approach. But they've known me for
Yeah.
years. So,
That's because
they're
that's
smart.
because yeah,
Yeah.
you have that relationship. You can't just run up and touch any animal, but once you understand their nature, I mean, I understand bison. I've worked with them as well, but it's a whole different ball game.
I'm learning. I don't know. I will never claim to be too knowledgeable at anything, but I'm out here learning every day. I'm learning
Well,
something.
Doing a
here's
good
here's
job.
from a farmer that raises cattle. Bison eat 2/3 of what a cow does for the same weight, so it actually eats less. The bison is a leaner meat. It eats the top off of the grass, which allows the grass to remain long for wildlife,
We don't
which is
have grass.
beneficial. And see, cows will eat everything down, so you won't have quail and different stuff in the grass. So yeah, you're probably high desert if I'm thinking probably the climate you're in.
Yep.
But
But
and
I
see,
mean, they're pretty self-sufficient. They only have to drop food for them a couple times in the winter. Other than that, they just move and graze. They
yeah,
really don't.
we see here you can use 1 acre per cow. There, you're going to be looking at maybe 15 acres per head, depending on where you're at.
Right.
So it,
Yeah.
it is a big difference, but they will for it. The longhorns do well in that environment.
Mhm.
But like my type of cattle, I raise Simmental. They don't do as well.
Cool. Mark, do you make your own compost tea or any kind of liquid
Yeah.
fertilizer?
Yes, I told you about the grass tea, and
Mhm.
that's basically for the chlorophyll. But yes, I do make organic teas using the worm castings, and I'll use humus in it as a means to distribute it. But another one, which uh, people's going to find this gross, but honestly, if you're irrigating pasture, human urine is high in potassium and a lot of micronutrients, and the dilution rate is 7 to 1. As a biologist, if you take that phosphorus liquid, dilute it 7 to 1, so for every gallon of urine, I know it sounds really gross, people, but you will not believe the results. But if you take that and put 7 gallons of water, mix it in with it, you have a very, very potent fertilizer that will not burn plants. Now, it's good on garden. I don't really use mine on the garden. I use it more on the pastures so that I can get bigger thistle and stuff coming up for my chickens. We do
7 to
organic
1,
poultry as well. But
7 to 1,
pardon?
7 to 1.
7 to 1, yes. And I can teach you ways to build a composting toilet
I have a
that
combo. I
is
have a nature's head that separates it. So I already do human manure, for
okay.
outdoor.
We
I
build
don't
our
have anything to grow yet. I just have a
we
big
build it
pile of compost.
we build it 2 story, and then we put jars on the wall on the bottom and put holes so the flies will fly in the jars, so there's no flies. And when you go, you simply take a cup of sawdust and pour it down it on top of what you do. And
Yeah.
what that does is it starts to break it down,
Hmm.
and it starts the composting process. But it can be very clean. People don't realize, if you look at how much we waste, I mean, even as a society, in your septic tank at your home or your sewer, a family of 2 creates enough methane gas to either heat your home or cook for 3 hours a day. Just off the biological gas, which is very similar to propane, that comes out of your septic, for gosh sakes. So we waste so much. We're a very wasteful species. And what I like about my people as native, and yours too, is that when we would die, most of the stuff we had came from the earth and it would go back. So there wasn't a big bunch of junk left. I love that. We're taught to think ahead for 7 generations. So, if I'm planting a fruit tree, I'm probably going to get to enjoy some fruit from that. But I
Hmm.
know my grandkids will, and I know
Yep.
my great great
Exactly.
grandkids would.
I
I mean,
didn't
that
know that
gives you
was
an
a
incentive.
thing. I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, like I would have to be honest and say I don't really know much about my native culture because I never met my father. But that's really cool if because I without knowing and planning for future generations. That's the whole reason I'm doing this. It's the
Yeah,
whole
that's
reason.
it. That's it. We need to evolve as a species.
Yep.
We do need to evolve, and really think about this. They talk about extraterrestrial life, and I know that's a bit, off topic a little bit. But if you were an alien flying past the Earth, would you really want to get out of your spaceship? When you got outside the Earth, you seen all the space junk we got floating, all the litter in outer space. I mean, that'd
No.
be like driving through the hood. You're rolling up your windows and locking your doors. They don't
Mhm.
want nothing to do with us because we're not an intelligent species, because we have all the faculties to do things better. We simply choose not to. And all the money that we spend, funding all these crazy things, we're seeing all this Doge thing go on. If they used half of that money for self sufficiency, we could create all the power. I make gasoline for 14 cents a gallon. We
Nice. I need to know
literally
how to
could
do that.
produce, yeah, we could produce anything we needed with just a fraction of the money we spend as a people, and in homelessness and world hunger. It's an easy fix. They don't want solutions.
That is so
I
cool.
can.
Very cool. Um, Jen, now I have lived in your state before, so I know the climate conditions is pretty harsh. Um, and how will the conditions of the climate, how will they impact your energy needs and food production?
Well, like I was mentioning before we started tonight, the growing cycle is 90 days or less. We have abundant sunshine for 315 days of the year, but our growing cycle, I mean, like we could have snow in June. And the only month we really don't have snow guaranteed is July. Other than that, it could happen at any time. Not necessarily. I'm surrounded by 14,000 feet peaks. I'm at the valley floor is about 7,500. So I mean, like, and because of the short cycle, I get intense spring fever right about this time because I already start to have like this sense of anxiety that I'm not going to have enough time to get everything I want to get done before the weather starts getting cold again, because I start getting for winter in July. We start getting wood, we start making repair. I say we, but it's me. We getting ready for the winter. The weather influences my everyday life every day because I'm completely on solar. So, and although I do have a 10,000 kilowatt hour battery bank, I also have a deep freeze and a refrigerator pulling off of it. And so sometimes when the weather, like when it infrequently as it happens, I have to watch the solar because I want my batteries to last as long as they possibly can. So I never let them drop below 70%. It's like ingrained in my head. So I'm always watching the weather. I mean, it's something. And because, we can fluctuate, like even I remember like the second winter I was out here in February, got down to 57 below zero here 2 nights in a row. Like, yeah, I'm in a camper and we almost died several times. So, I mean, and then, the flood in my living room when the monsoons came, and I didn't know anything about building the house. So I built the back wall flush with the ground, and we're at a low spot. So when the monsoons came and dumped like this cloudburst on me, I had like a foot of standing water in the middle of my living room and I didn't know what to do. I mean, like, everything out here that we have that's a good thing has happened because of some near-death experience that we made it through. So I am constantly watching the weather. Several times a day I check the weather. It influences everything I do. It gets so dark early here too, and the second the sun drops below those mountains, I lose 20 degrees almost instantly. So even, except for a few months of the year, it gets cold real quick,
I remember always have my home open for you because I know there was a few times she was like, I need just to stay a weekend. I need warmth. I need a flushing toilet. I need a bath.
One day. I still, even when I go on vacation now, I take like 3 showers a day. Like you and your guys' fancy running water. Bet you have a toilet that flush too, don't you?
Yeah. So you did answer the next question about the energy systems, about the sources of energy. You say you use solar for your energy. How will you store the excess energy that is generated from new sources?
If I had a bigger battery bank, I could store more, but I don't. Like, because I'm just doing this as I go. But as of right now, the battery that I have supplies more than what I even need. So I don't get to store it. It doesn't like store like that. I do have a stockpile of propane as backup just because I've become a bit of a prepper, a reluctant prepper. Like, I don't know. I've just evolved into that, but I'm constantly not only thinking ahead for 7 years, but I'm thinking ahead for the next 6 months because this world is crazy right now. And I don't know. I'm just ready. I just want to be ready. So anything that I could store as far as energy, like I'm already buying wood for next year, that I could start splitting because I just want to make sure that I'm okay if something happens, that I got like a year to try to figure it out.
Well, Chris says that if the shit hits the fan more than what it is now,
Not feeling it, man. It's close.
We're coming out there with the tent. We're coming out there.
You just gotta have busy hands. Like I just, I live such a fragile existence out here.
Tech Technology question for you.
What's up?
Do you capitalize on, you have wood heat, right?
Uh-huh.
And you have stovepipe, right?
Yep.
Do you capitalize on hot water coming off of your wood stove?
Actually, I have an
You-
old earth stove. I don't know if you can see it over there in the corner. It's like 100 years old.
Okay,
And it's
that's
got,
cool. If
it
you
is
take
cool.
if you take copper pipe and snake a coil around that stovepipe, and I found it's better if you almost freeze the copper with water in it, and you can wrap it gently around that pipe without getting it to kink up. You create a coil around it, and if you pour cold water in the top, by the time it gets to the bottom, it'll be piping hot, and you can use that for a shower. And it will be plenty, plenty, plenty warm. I promise you.
It's got some sort of setup that somebody at some point had some sort of heat, like a hot water thing hooked up to it. I just don't have the
Mhm.
room behind it. And
Mhm.
this is going to probably be the girliest, most not realistic off-grid. I have this aesthetic that I have, and I would
Mhm.
not put something there that didn't look like it should be
Oh
there. I
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
Anyway,
That would impact. That would impact. See, if in
yeah.
summer you make a solar shower, but
I
also
have
something
a
I'd
solar
encourage
shower
you.
and I have an on-demand water heater. It's just we're waiting to dry in. We have a shower house. My whole house is covered with adobe.
Huh?
And
Oh, that's nice.
old abandoned red anthill that we mixed up. We mixed up in by
Mhm.
hand. Old abandoned red anthill and the clay from my land. And my whole house,
Mhm.
I have this little wall back here. Don't know if you can see.
Oh,
That's the
that's
earth.
cool.
It's earth bags covered
Yeah,
with the.
we built that stuff. Yeah,
Awesome.
that
See, we
stuff.
have a lot of
Yeah,
things in common. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm
You
building
can.
an Earthship. I'm
So
making an
yeah. Oh,
Earthship.
yes. I built several.
Have
The
you
thing.
really? See?
Yes, you should really Google the term solar water heater. You can
Uh-huh.
build panels that will go on your roof, or you can mount, that are just a simple sheet of metal that you spray paint black and build it in an insulated box and put those metal coils like I was talking about in that box outside. Dump the water from your gutters into it and it'll come out
Yeah,
hot water
by
in
the
your
time
house.
it gets down. Yeah, that's cool. That's
hmm
good. Good idea. I'm
I'll
doing
share
actually.
I'll share some tech ideas with you.
I got a 500-gallon stock tank that were me and my friend Susan, the one that was on the show with me, Chrissy. She knows how to build the outdoor hot tubs with the copper wire, the copper wire that goes.
Nice.
We have an outdoor
Wow.
hot tub because I have a natural hot spring on my property. Hot spring is not hot.
Nice.
But it's warm enough to be like radiant heat. It's just still
hmm
pretty cold. But we're gonna build an earth like a rocket stove to heat up the
That's
water in the
cool.
stock tank. So I'm gonna maybe have a redneck hot tub outside.
That's cool.
That is cool. That
I
is.
hope so. I hope so because right now I just have this little stock tank and it's real
Mhm.
up close to the road. So I put a post up on Facebook. I was like, if you see a chubby girl floating in a stock tank when you drive by, you just mind your own business. It's hot out here. And just floating
Uh,
in the middle of the field. I mean, there's nothing. I have 40 acres, and this is like in the middle
Mhm.
of this like part. It's yeah, just floating.
yes. She has a nice acreage though. Yes, you
It's
do.
pretty there. It is a slice of heaven for certain.
I'm lucky. I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. I'm
Sure.
poor, but I'm blessed.
Oh my God. I will corrupt you so bad. I'll have you doing greenhouses with aquaponics year round.
Like yes, I have. Well, here's the thing: is I was going to do a wallapini, but I can't
hmm
even go 5 feet down here. I'm on the water table, like 5 feet down is my water table.
Oh
So
wow. Yeah.
that's the first aquifer. I'm on the largest natural aquifer in the United States. So like there's water everywhere. It's just not on the surface. So
Oh, I feel you. I'm sitting on the aquifer for the Lost Sea.
mm,
My actual farm is the aquifer that goes into the Lost Sea.
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, we got really good water here. So that's why it's called Sweetwater, I guess. The water
Oh yeah.
is good. It tastes good.
Yeah, so this
Oh,
one that I have, the spring that I have comes from like, I think that's a question. I'm going to wait.
Oh, no, it's okay. I was just gonna say, for your plants that you grow, Mark, which
Mhm.
plants are best suited for organic gardening in your climate of Tennessee?
My climate is pretty good for most vegetable species and some fruit. We have late frost that develop at times here, so a little further south they have really good peach and plum production. Peaches and plums don't do as well here, but we found that Oriental species actually do, Japanese species of fruit. So me and my friends experiment with fruits from other places, and we're old school timers. So I mean, I'm bad to graft. I've got fruit tree that's got about 18 types of fruit on it. I graft and do whip grafting. I clone plants. I bought a hemp farm out for his auto cloners. So I'm getting ready to clone probably about 540 fruit trees because the price here they're $40 to $70 a piece here for a fruit tree now. And I says, gosh, I can raise hundreds of them. So that's what we're doing this year. And I'll probably get about 6 rotations this year. But any produce really grows great in Tennessee. We're blessed because of our climate zone, and we
So
have
jealous.
plenty of water and good warm growing season. We really only have 3 cold months here, and of them, only 2 of them are really cold. It seldom gets below 20 degrees. And if we get a snow or two, it's very rare that we will get more than an inch or two.
Now, I see Jen, she's like shaking her head because,
No,
yes,
no, I'm just jealous, but
yes.
About 3 inches twice a year, maybe. Yeah, if we get 3 inches, we're doing something here. And you know it because everybody will rush to the store and buy all the bread and the milk and the toilet paper.
It's a crisis. It's a whole thing, man.
Yeah, it is. They'll panic, shut down the
We're
schools.
from the north. We're transplant, but
Yeah, because in where Jen lives at, there's probably more cold months than there are warm
I'm
months.
gonna say you're 3
Yeah.
cold or my 3 warm. Well, right now it's still cold, but March, April, and May is when we have the winds, the incessant 50 to 70 mile an hour winds. That's the whole reason the sand dunes are there. It's because of the
Ooh.
crazy winds. And then
Yeah.
it still can get cold, and then we have like 3 hot months, and then it goes back in August. We could be down in below freezing again.
That sounds like Florence. Florence, Colorado, same way, or Wetmore.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They're similar. Yeah.
Yeah, we get
That's kind
pretty
of
cool.
close
They
by,
call us the
isn't it?
attic of the Rockies because we're like between the two. We're between the Front Range and the Western Slope, and we're just like
Oh, yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to share some technology with her. We're gonna have good fun.
Mark, do you do any companion planting techniques or any kind of
Oh yeah,
techniques?
yeah, constantly. We use a combination of companion planting. Like I was saying, tomatoes.
Mhm.
The marigolds really are productive with the tomatoes. They're a great companion.
Three sisters.
Then we do what we call a Three Sisters garden, which was traditional for our people. So we'll plant corn, allow the corn to start to plant, then we'll plant squash, and then we'll wait just a little bit and plant beans. So we do a ton of companion planting, and then we also use insects. I'm bad to go around and hunt praying mantis nest. They hang in bushes, and you can get them little egg sacs, and you take them and put them around your garden, and the little praying mantises come. So I use lace wings, I use ladybugs, and I use praying mantises for insect control, along with the companion planting, and then I use other natural elements to keep bugs off of plants.
Wow.
We used to use
Seems like
sweat
it's a
beads
lot.
to control
So,
caterpillars.
but when you treat your plants, like for plant diseases,
Mhm.
using any kind of organic methods, or do you have
Yeah,
your own?
most all problems with plant is a nutritionally derived problem. Most of it you'll find. You really don't have a lot of health problems with the heirlooms like I use, and we propagate our own seed from year to year. So a lot of times you'll buy something at the store and it'll look great, and you think, oh well, I'll save some seeds out of this tomato. You'll plant it, and they won't produce any tomatoes. Or you'll plant a potato from the store that looks great, and it won't raise any production. Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, we use a lot of different stuff. One of the things I really like to use is called neem oil. Neem oil is a natural, it's from the rapeseed. And if you ever smell it, you'll understand why bugs don't like it. But bugs like us have a sense of smell, I believe, and they just really don't like it. But you can spray it, mix it with water, and spritz it on your plants. Nothing will touch it. Nothing. And even the deer will shun away from it. So, then I use a lot of scare tactics. I go to the Dollar Tree and pick up windmills. Everybody laughs because I put little colorful pinwheels through my garden, and I got little solar lights going. And they're like, why you do that? Because I pick at night. Because I can't afford migrant laborers. They make more than I do. But I do my own picking. But um, you'll find that you can use and employ a lot of simple techniques that don't cost a lot of money. That'll get really great results. And I'm getting ready to start a video series on what we do here, and it's reproducible. And the reason that I'm looking, everybody says, well, why would you do that? The secret will be out. Exactly. That's exactly what I want. I want people to learn how to be more self-reliant. Like this young lady, I am so impressed by her. I can't even begin to tell you. We need more people like this. We need people that, take very serious the resources we have and how to survive, more naturally, because you're not going to have the cancer or the health problems that, people will. Like I hear a lot of vegans. I'll give you an example. My next door neighbor was a college professor with a PhD. She was in her 50s, and when I moved here, she was built like a 16-year-old. If you seen her from the back, you would think she was a little girl riding a bicycle. And she would ride 8 miles to her university, teach, ride 8 miles home. She got stomach cancer and had a basketball-sized growth in her stomach. And do you know what her primary food source was as a vegan? Tofu. Tofu and soybean containing products. 95% of all the soybeans in the United States are Roundup ready, meaning they have the gene killer, the weed killer gene built into the actual DNA of the plant. So it's being called Roundup ready. You can plant this crop, spray it with the Roundup weed killer or the glucophosphate. It'll kill everything in the field except that plant because it's actually genetically part of it. But you've seen that the Roundup just had big settlement, okay, for weed killer. But when you look at the big picture, if you see the label, it says don't get it on your skin. If you touch it, call poison control. Then why is it good for us to eat this stuff? They don't regulate what's in our food, and that's why doing what we do
every day where I work. I'm the head chef at a hot springs resort here in the valley, and we serve so many vegans and gluten-free people. And they love that tofu. And I always said the same thing. It's like, let's do some mushrooms. Let's do some chickpeas. Like let's stay away from the soy.
Know your farmer and know your source. If you know your source, you don't have any questions about what's in your food. So if you find, and I'm not saying me as a farmer, find anybody in your neighborhood that is a real farmer. Go and talk to them, see how they produce, what their practices are. You won't just learn something, but you'll make a connection with that person and with food you're putting in your body. You'll be much healthier.
I really resorted in those last few years to the bartering. I bake for people, I cook for people, and I get a lot of local stuff so I get local mushrooms. There's a mushroom people who grow mushrooms, and I'm getting yak meat, locally grown, grass-fed yak that, so I get a lot of I barter a lot for a lot of the stuff that I get.
Most of us do. I heard you term yourself prepper, or I'm a prepper too, but I also heard you say homesteader. To me, homesteader is just like a hip way of saying farmer. because all homesteaders are in essence a farmer. I think they're in denial that a farmer can't be cool, but farming is the coolest. And honestly, if you look back throughout any creation and any religion, the absolute first, the first job in history was a farmer. It wasn't what they say the first profession was.
Mhm.
It was a farmer.
Oh, I feel like I call myself a homesteader because this was raw land. There was nothing here. We started off in a camper. Every
Mhm.
single thing. I just wrote this big, home, huge, you know, emotional, gushy thing the other day because sometimes I get overwhelmed with how much this valley, this whole thing means to me. But
It's
like,
important.
yeah. So like, but
Yes,
I
write
it,
that. Write it and get it out to the people. They
I did
need
it
to see this.
right.
Yes.
Do you know how many people are miserable inside? And I hate to say this, the machine, because our society is a machine and people are programmed to be compliant and miserable. Most
Yeah,
people hate their jobs, they hate their lives, they hate where they live. They're like living in cities thinking, wow, I'd really like to go and do this when they
yeah,
can.
yeah.
They just have to do their homework and they're
I
going
think
to learn, like you, from trial and error. And that's the best teacher, really.
I've had a lot of people who have come to me, because I'm going to be 52 this month. You know, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I was on a reality show on Max right now, so I'm still
Yeah.
getting messages from people from who are like, it was about living off grid, and they're like, you showed me that this is still possible, that I shouldn't just be like, oh, I'm 50 years old, so this is it. This is what I got. This is what I started when I was
I'm,
45 years old and I didn't know
I'm
my
50. I'm
from my ad.
53.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We're
right.
together. Yes.
Yeah,
Gen
dude.
X.
Like
Gen X.
I want to see how old I am. I leave it
You're
at
over
that.
the hill, baby.
I
You're
leave it
over the
at
Hey,
hill.
Gen X and backwards is good. Everything after Gen X, I mean, there's a few, but it kind of gets more diluted out where people don't have the ability to do things. They can't
that.
work on their vehicle. I
fair.
fix all my own stuff. I do my mechanical repairs, my own construction, fabrication,
I
and
do
just like the
whatever
young
is
lady.
physically
Yes,
possible that I can
yes.
until I absolutely, I mean, like if I ask for help, just know that I have exhausted every other single avenue
Mhm.
before because I
Yep.
don't. I won't. I mean, like, I'm
Yeah.
sure Christy's seen me along this journey because I've documented it on Facebook pretty well,
Hmm.
and like, there's been times when I have been so either almost close to death or just giving up and people are like, well,
Hmm.
come home, you can do it. I was like, hell, there's no way that I'm giving up now. There's no way, like, I won't do it.
Oh, and you find yourself doing something, and everything that day seems to go against you. And you
Absolutely.
wind up in the mud thinking, why in the world am I doing this? And then it hits you why. And then I'd usually just go get my radio and start playing some good tunage, something that feels good, makes you upbeat and positive.
Hmm.
I call it my funky music. I'm like a technological hippie, I guess. So I'll turn on some 60s or 80s music and get the humming, and then I get my energy back.
Yeah, we call it the valley gloom out here, and it's just like sometimes shit gets overwhelming, and I do cry
It
a
does.
lot. But what, like, I
That's
would not
healthy.
trade this life for anything. I can't imagine.
Hmm.
I can't
Oh,
imagine.
yeah.
Mark, we have a couple of questions for you.
Sorry,
Okay.
Chrissy. We just
Here
keep.
you go. Um, from Essay Breeze. Hello, what the best soil to grow sweet potatoes, peppers, cabbage indoors, or a good fertilizer to use right now? I have some all-purpose potting mix that I got from the Dollar Tree.
Okay. I'm caution about all-purpose mixes sometimes because you really don't know what's in it. If you want to make your own potting mix, you can. I've got a Harbor Freight 3.5 yard concrete mixer, and everybody laughs because I use it to mix soil potting mix. But if you're going to buy something to make it, then I recommend finely shredded sphagnum peat moss and vermulite and perlite and vermiculite. Those three elements together do pretty well with some organic compost. So if you mix those four and you mix them in, you use far less perlite and vermiculite. So you're using, just fraction. You just want to have it sprinkled in so that you can see it. That's all you need. But the organic compost is the key. And that is if you're using more of a store-bought type mix or something you're not locally sourced, go to a mushroom plant. A lot of times they'll sell you soil. If you have a mushroom factory near you, like Monterey mushrooms are close to us. They have some great humus. But for sweet potatoes, though, I recommend straight organic compost mixed with sawdust. And use sawdust that's non-acidic. So you really don't want pine. You want some hardwood. And take that sawdust and mix it with the soil. You want it about in a 2-to-3 ratio, 2 parts soil, 1 part sawdust. And you put it together and build a little raised bed with wood. It can be logs or whatever. And if you'll put a little sheet of metal over the top of it and put rocks on it, keep the wind from weighing it down, keep it wet, the sweet potatoes will start growing, but they'll produce slips. And you can cut those slips off and replicate your plants. So I recommend keeping your own supply of slips. But if you'll use that for a soil amenitive as well, too, where you plant, your sweet potatoes will absolutely bang. As far as cabbage and other reagents, I use just the natural compost that we make. But on cabbage, you have to be real careful because you'll get cabbage worms. That's where that neem oil comes in invaluable. And if you'll spray a little bit of that neem oil around your plants, directly on the leaves even, it won't hurt you. It's completely natural. It washes off. There's nothing can cause cancer to it. You'll raise some fantastic cabbage. Some of the better species are not the mainstream commercial species like the Copenhagen or those type. I recommend the flathead Dutch cabbage, both early and late varieties, because the heads are much larger. So you're going to get a lot greater yield out of each plant. And then, of course, I raise red cabbage because that stuff's just great. But the flavor is good and those crops, but try to stick with an heirloom. And remember, once you learn how to save seed, that's addictive too. So I recommend people, yes, save your seeds, learn how to save, because
I've been dying to tell you that we have this thing here every year because the whole valley is kind of hippies. And it's this month, it's called the seed exchange. And everybody comes and they bring their extra seeds of all the things that they want to share. And you just go home with like this awesome set of seeds. It's so cool. Like people just share. What do you got there?
This is foxglove. One little pack of it, $1.96, right? I'm just pulling out some that just like this pack right here, squash, crookneck. Okay, this is Knoxville Seed Company. They have great products, but that package right there is going to cost you like $2.99, $3.99. You're saving yourself that money. So from year to year, you learn how to, and also bear in mind, if you're saving bean seeds and stuff, you get weevils in it. Learn how to prepare your seed, package them like your tomatoes. Most everybody wants to dry them out. Ferment them. Fermenting does great. Put it out with the gel, that nasty little jelly stuff that's in there. Just let it ferment a little bit and then string your seeds out.
My dried ones aren't going to be, or they just won't propagate as much?
They will propagate, but not nearly the germination rate. So if you dry your seeds, you're going to have a lot smaller yield as far as what's going to come up. So for every 100 seeds, say that you plant, your germination rate might be 70. So you might get 70 plants out of 100. If you ferment it, you're going to have around, the very worst case scenario, around 85 to 95% germination rate, which is pretty good. And you can get up to 99 and 100.
I have had really crappy luck growing much of anything out here so far. All I can really do is lettuces and herbs because of the growing cycle, because of the insects. But once I get my earth ship,
you need specific species that have a short growing cycle season. Like this one right here, this summer squash would work for you. This summer squash is called, it's an early yellow crookneck. It is the little small crooknecks, little yellow ones, but they grow like super fast. So what you have to have is something that has a really short threshold of maturity. Like radishes and stuff would do good where you're at. Any early variety vegetables, I would recommend stuff like smaller tomatoes that have like a 6-ounce globe. You know,
I'm gonna have to get a list from you later. I won't
yeah,
repeat all
we'll definitely talk later, but yeah, I can help you find species that will do good in your area. And see, that's the key. You can do this. It takes homework. Everybody thinks this stuff's easy. It's not. But once you learn what works in your environment, see, because we're
Well, I grew
working
up
in
in Iowa
harmony.
where you could basically throw anything, any seed at the ground, and you
Oh
were
yeah.
automatically growing. And you think you're the best. Like I had a garden in Iowa. I could grow
Mhm.
anything. I could grow anything because of the soil there. I didn't realize. I thought it was just me, but no.
Oh yeah.
I came out here, and I'm having a
We
hard
grow.
time keeping my houseplants alive, let alone anything else.
We grow 200-pound tomatoes or 200-pound watermelons, 6-pound tomatoes, 15 pounds of potatoes, and under each bush, our yields are massive. You know, I'm raising 35, 40-pound cabbage heads. I raise banana squash that are over 36 inches long.
See,
You know,
anything that I grew out here, I have to import the soil. I cannot use my soil unless I was heavily amended. And it would take,
you're a very heavy sanded soil. The best thing for you to
alkaline.
do is to
Mine,
start
I'm like
getting
80% clay.
yeah. And see, we're clay too. We're red clay. We're red clay down here where I'm at. But I've learned to amend the soil. That's the key. The key is amending that soil. So if you can like find people that clean out horse barns or cow barns, use that compost, that manure, let it break down. You
I
know,
have goats
things
and
like
chickens, so I have I have a
you
compost pile.
use that, but I'm gonna tell you something to spice it up. Get you some natural cardboard, just any
Uh-huh.
kind of cardboard, any store that you go to that's got bulk cardboard, take it home, throw it down, and weight it down with that soil. Get it good and soaking wet, and throw some septic bacteria on it. Wait about a month, and then throw some worms in underneath of it. You will not believe the results you will get out of that.
Okay, so I'm
It's
doing
super
all that
crazy.
except the worms. What kind of
The
worms?
worms are key. I suggest red worms. And in the wintertime, since your climate is more aggressive, you're going to want to cover them. So you're going to
Yeah,
want to pick you just some plain old scrap sheet metal that you find
because
anywhere, like barn tin. Put
my
rocks
my
on it.
my compost will steam, but I think it dies in the wintertime. It doesn't
It
I
will
don't
because of
stop.
the temperature.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, if you built a root cellar for doing compost, it would work too in your area. So if you
Hmm.
had two, I would recommend 2 root cellars. I would build them above ground and do them as earth berms.
Mm-hmm.
Do one for raising your compost, and in your compost, I could teach you how to build hanging bags and raising your mushrooms at the same time, so you can keep multiple species of mushroom going.
Nice.
And
That'd be cool.
yeah, and the mushrooms will help your compost tremendously. So you're getting lots of benefit there. And then building the in-ground root cellar will give you the capacity of a refrigerator, because the underground is
Except I
58
can't go
degrees year
down.
round. It's
I
58
can't go down
degrees.
past 5 feet.
Yeah, you won't
So I
have
need.
to. You can build it above. You just put dirt over top of it. And then you insulate it with like straw bales and stuff, and then throw the dirt over top of that. And it'll degrade over the years,
I got
but
the
it'll
tire
work.
bales that I'm building the earth ship out of. I'm building the.
Tires will do the same thing. Yes, fill them full of soil, build them up just like the earth ship. It works.
Yep.
Hmm.
And it's cheap. It's free. It's hard work though. You
It's a
know as
lot of
well as
work.
I do. Earthship is hard work, but it's worth it.
At another time, I'm going to have to tell you about I cut out 60% of the labor on my earth ship because I'm not ramming the tires individually. I have tire bales that are compact, like hay bales that we're going to stack.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, they weigh a ton a piece. They're 5 foot by 4 foot by 3.5 feet tall. We're going to stack them, put rebar through them. And then it takes out like all that. I mean, the interior walls and some of the floof on the outside will have to still be the traditional, but the other of it is going to be so much easier. So much easier.
Oh God, I love doing that and making the adobe for it. I use
Yeah.
the big concrete pan, and we mix it. You take off your socks and wade through it like mashing grapes.
Dude, that's the
You
hard way. I
literally
got a
barefoot.
mixer.
You mix it with your feet. Yeah,
I
you
just
mix it
put
with your
Adobe
feet.
floors in here. So my whole
Uh-huh.
we had a class. There's a class out here, a whole energy festival. People who are building sustainably, like this house,
Hmm.
like you. It sounds like.
Yeah.
And so we came over here and we had like this 2-day class where we installed the Adobe floors in this, and we did do some of it by feet, mashing it
Hmm.
by feet.
Hmm.
Let me tell you what, a mixer is so much nicer.
It is. It takes longer, but it can be done. But people don't think about simple means to improving their life, and they want to pay like $2,000 a month in rent, for God's sakes. Why would you want to? I'm a big advocate for tiny housing. Like, we build sustainable tiny home communities too. That's the company that I own. I also own the Eco Company.
Nice.
But the idea is that you don't have to have a huge house to have something really nice and something that fits you well. And we
Mhm.
just tell people we get a lot of people wanting to downsize, or a lot of initial families that would have been stuck in the rent cycle. Why would you want to rent when you own something?
True. We're going to go to a little break here, about a minute and a half, and we will be back with some more questions and random talk. Be back in a little bit.
Bye.
Today's Witch Magazine, brought to you by Covered Bridge Press, LLC. Imagine a world where every month you're greeted with a 50-page print magazine packed with high-quality graphics specifically tailored for the pagan community. Today's Witch Magazine is your gateway to a universe of insights, inspiration, and enlightenment. Whether you're a seasoned practitioner or just beginning your journey, this magazine supports all pagan traditions and levels of experience. Each issue is a treasure trove of interviews with luminaries like Oberon Zell, educational materials, and thought-provoking articles. Subscribers rave about the knowledge they gain and the vibrant community they join. But the magic doesn't stop there. Other publications include their Travel Guide for Pagans, featuring over 309 stores across the states, updated yearly to keep your spiritual travels seamless. And for those who love a mental challenge, their Pagan Puzzle Book offers 63 engaging puzzles and 13 coloring pages, perfect as an educational tool or just for fun. Today's Witch Magazine invites you to become part of this growing community. With affordable advertising options, you can share your event or business with a vibrant audience. Their commitment to ethical values and fact-checking ensures you're getting quality content every time. So, what are you waiting for? Visit todayswitch.net now to subscribe and explore advertising opportunities. Let Today's Witch Magazine be your monthly companion in the magical world of paganism.
It does say that sometimes that your tank will smell.
Okay, so we're back for the second hour. I'm talking to Mark Brown and to Jennifer. Off-grid is Jen lives off-grid for 8 years in Colorado, and Mark has an eco farm in Tennessee. So we're just going to get started with some more questions here. Now, Jen, you said you did have a well, correct, for your groundwater sources. How do you conserve water?
So, because it's an artesian well, I don't really have any control. It's going to come out of the ground whether I don't really save it. It sinks right back in. I have this little tiny pond that never goes away and never freezes. But I conserve water because I do collect rainwater. Just in the last couple of years, Colorado has okayed it for us to be able to collect rainwater. That was something that we weren't able to do for a while. But now when the water comes, it's not very frequent, but I have it so it's funneled into my cisterns that are outside so that I can use it for the animals outside. Go through a little bit of a filter system. My roofs are all tin, so there's not anything coming off of the roof that would be bad for the animals, like if it were shingles. So that's one way I conserve water. But there's this saying that says once you've carried your own water, you learn to value every drop. There is nothing that is really more true than that, because my whole life is around wood, water, a lot of wood and a lot of water. I'm hauling water every day. So we use water twice around here. Out One of the locals said, who a lot of us are off grid out here, and you always use water twice. So if I have waters that the chickens, like I rotate it. Like we use the water that's the dishwater, because I use earth friendly soaps, so I can water things outside with it. I use like the water that the animals don't drink, and I put it in the humidifiers that are on the stove. I always try to I use water that I cook with to boil eggs and things. I use it for the plants. I'm always trying to find as many ways to conserve, because I do know what a valuable asset and how lucky I am to have the water I have. And I feel like there's some magic in this water out here. So I really try to not waste it.
Now, living off grid, how do you maintain social connections with friends and family while living off grid?
See, I would like to I consider myself an introverted extrovert. I'm an extrovert. I'm a social butterfly. I love people in small doses. And I feel like I've learned out here that I value my time alone and my peace and my little routine more than just about anything. So I do have a lot of friends, and I mean, I have a lot of friends all over the country, and people come to visit me on short terms, and I do post a lot of things to let people know what's going on with me out here. And that's how I maintain my social. I mean, like I have my work job, and I'm, a catering manager out there. So I see people and I have to do that. But other than that, I spend a lot of time alone, and it's okay. I really am okay with it. I think at some point you have to realize that if this is the way I choose to live, there's a good possibility that this homestead is my partner, because it's going to be hard to find somebody at my age who's going to want to give up their probably established job, their home that they probably own, their grandkids that are probably down the block, you know what I mean? All those things to come out and split wood and haul water and live hard. This is a choice that I made. And I mean, I don't want anybody out here who doesn't really want to be out here. So I kind of think that my social priorities have changed a lot since I've been out here. So I do keep in contact with people, but it's not the same as it was when I was in Iowa.
Right. What is the estimated initial cost that is required to set up with your off-grid system?
Oh my gosh. It would be hard for me to even put a cost on that, because I got really lucky and I found this land at a really good price. You would never, ever, ever, never, ever find it like that again. I mean, like, honestly, I'll just say I found this 40 acres for less than $10,000. I paid for it cash that day because I had saved for something. And then I was like, this is it, But to do that now, that would never happen. So I mean, and then along the way I bartered some things. I would say though, it's not cheap to live like you're poor. You gotta have, like, I mean, you can live, if you want to do it sustainably long term, you have to have some things. You have to have access to water, you have to have access to electricity at some point, you have to have a game plan. So you have to have some initial money to be able to invest in it, to be able to do what I'm doing. I mean, like, I fell through so many little loopholes, though. I got to this valley before they started doing all the code enforcing. Things are changing now, so it's harder and harder for people to attain land. And the people who are buying land now can't even start to homestead like I did without having a septic installed first. I mean, and out here, because of the water table, that's $20,000 just from the get-go, because you have to have it engineered by a professional. Anyways, I mean, so it would be hard for me to tell you. A lot of it would depend on your location, your requirements, what you need in your daily life. Dagan and I went without everything for the first 2 years, and you got to have that willing of commitment to it.
Mhm.
I mean, so maybe you can start with not much money, but you have to have something to be able to sustain you while you're figuring it out, you know?
Well, you did. I mean, you've been doing so well. Um,
I am faking it, Chrissy.
you know.
You know this. I'm just I'm
Oh,
winging
yeah,
this whole
I know.
thing.
Oh, I know you telling me, I don't know if I can do this. And,
Yep.
it's like, yeah, you can. Because, I've known you for a long time. And I know
Stupid stubborn.
character. I
Stupid
know,
stubborn.
yeah, I know your character. I know your strength. And, you
I just think
you did it, and you really did it. And Chris is like, he just says, I didn't think she would make it. So,
And I don't, and that's fine. That's honest. There's a lot of people when they came out here, even the ones that did think I could make it, gave me that allowance, being like, Jen, if it doesn't work, you can come home. There's no shame in trying. You tried it,
well,
And I was like, you guys are just. And then you got all the local guys out here saying, "What are you doing out here without a man? You're never gonna make it. You're gonna blow away the first winter. You're not. I was like, you just signed my death certificate because now I absolutely can't leave. Now I'm just just gonna be here.
oh, I
Frozen
remember
in the middle of a field, like me and my phone, I'll be frozen, But I just and I do have to say this a lot, but I have to credit my 14-year-old kid, because there was so many times that I was crying when I could tell me so many different times, and he's like, we didn't come this far to give up. There are too many people who are thinking that there are people watching you. Rooting for you. He's like, we didn't come this far to give up. And because of that, now I have this that I'll be able to give them.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, Dagan was a trooper. He was in there. He wasn't lazy at all, boy. He helped you out tremendously.
I said this too, like anybody who can live through the pandemic in a 12-by-16 shed in the middle of the field for 3 years in almost complete isolation with their mother. No, we're okay. We'll be okay no matter what. We are survivors. We are survivors.
You really are a survivor and a badass. I mean,
I love you.
You are
and
my
our paths
inspiration.
cross, Mark, because I feel like you're a wealth of information that I need to know more about.
You're my type of person, that's for certain. My cup of tea.
Nice.
Speaking of Mark, what are the USDA National Organic Program guidelines for gardening? Do you have that? Do you have to go through? Imagine you do.
Well, I'll be honest with you. We've been organic farmers since 1938. So we've been organic farming since before the USDA guidelines was ever conceived.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand the process for the USDA. It is wrought with corruption, with exorbitant fees that are charged. For example, on a state level here, to get your organic certification, you have to petition for it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay huge fees. And at the end of the day, there's so many loopholes that big corporations have generated with the USDA, completely compliant, that really it's not a protection for my consumers. Now, I'm tribally organic certified, which are more stringent rules even than the USDA. But as far as I am a USDA farmer and I have my USDA numbers, but I don't run an organic certification under the USDA. I run a tribal certification. The reason for that is because, like I said, there's so many loopholes. And why would I spend thousands of dollars to get an organic certification for a small organic farm when then tens of thousands of dollars could be spent on building better infrastructure or more greenhouses?
If people are just buying those things, it takes away the legitimacy of it. It's like, why am I fighting for this?
Right.
Yep.
You're just handing money to the government. And
Yep.
honestly, all those fees are nothing more. And they can call them fees or call them whatever they want. It's just a tax. And as far as I was concerned, we're designed to be free humans, not beholden to taxes to big government. It's kind of like if you own a business and you're spending most of your revenue just to pay the insurance, why would you do that? Why would you want to be a slave to somebody else to make the money? And basically, that's what the USDA does. I am like the biggest anti USDA person you've ever seen. I don't like factory farms. I'm dead against them. I'm dead against a lot of the practices of big ag because of the way it opens up vulnerabilities in our food supply. And this organic certification is one of them. If you see a USDA certified organic, here I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm the only farmer in my county. There's only 2 indigenous farmers in my county. Of the farms in my county, I am the only producer that grows 100% of what I sell. So what that means is we have a lot of Amish communities, and everybody goes crazy to go to the Amish. They got the big beards and they drive the buggies and they got the suspenders, and it's cool. Don't get me wrong. And they work hard. I love them. They actually buy seed from me, but they only raise 20% of what they sell. So when you go in there, they have pallet jacks and they have a loading dock that is the height of a diesel rig. The reason why? They have tomatoes before anybody else in my area has tomatoes. Why? They buy them from big commercial farms out of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Mexico, that are heavily chemically treated. So they will buy these chemically treated tomatoes, and there's nothing in the law that prevents them from doing this, reselling it and representing it. 99% of the local produce stands in my area are not farmers. They don't have a USDA number. They live in subdivisions. So those protections that you think you have are not valid because it doesn't control anything about import. Port of origin is just becoming a thing with some beef, but here's how they get around that even. So let's say cattle, for example, or meat. If you buy a steak and it has a port of origin says it comes from Texas, for example, here's what they do. They'll raise the beef in Venezuela, and in Venezuela they graze the cattle in the human trash piles. Okay, so in the landfills, and they feed them a magnet which catches the metal when it goes down. The cow has 4 stomachs, folks, and so the magnet keeps the metal from going on down into their system, and it looks like a big bolus, a big pill. Anyway, they will ship a frozen side of beef up to the United States, send it to Texas or to wherever. When they cut it up in Texas, it's now considered port of origin is Texas because it is something that is being produced, refined in Texas. Doesn't mean it's grown in Texas. So there's so many loopholes that I thought to myself, why would I spend money to feed fat bureaucrats, and not really provide any further protections for my consumers? Because I know what I do. If they ever came back on me, I would love that lawsuit. I really would. I would own the USDA, which actually is getting ready to happen on another matter. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, that doesn't really give you protection. So always know your point, your farmer. If you know exactly where it's raised, and don't just take their word for it. I got a cousin lives down the road. He has a farm too, and he sells produce. Problem is, he will sell you produce he don't raise. So he trucks a lot of stuff in, it's chemically treated, and he's going to tell you that it's this, that, or the other, which it might not be. Not me. If I tell you that it's a German pink tomato and it's an heirloom, you can come to my farm and pull it off the vine for all I care. I'm going to show you where it's been raised. I'm going to show you how it's raised. You're going to get to feel it. Or if you want to see my cows, you can understand I'm a BQA or beef quality assurance producer. I'm a national cattleman member. I go through all the bells and whistles, but I'm grass fed. All my guys are natural. My chickens free range. I don't do anything chemically. I don't do any of that. So if you come here, you're going to see raw stuff. The stuff is done the old fashioned way because it's better. But to
Yep.
me, that organic certification through the USDA is an absolute joke.
Same thing. Well, the only reason I know anything about it is because my friend who I was telling you about, he has the cannabis, and he thought it was going to be something. I mean, takes great pride in his product as well, and all natural, and or and he's like, it's a big scam. It sounds like it's the same, for him to get
It
certified
is.
organic. He's like, and
It
all
is.
these other people, in other places, what they're just going to buy their things out. All they have to do is buy these people out, and they're going to be, it's not easy to grow organic. There's a whole lot more,
The federal government has a law, like your friend that raises cannabis.
Mhm.
Here's something: the federal government has a law where they claim that they have control over the term organic. But here's the thing: to have control over the term organic puts the USDA in charge of everything, which is not their inalienable right to do. But they're asserting their authority over something which would be a monopoly, to monopolize something for a financial gain, to sell you a government product. In other words, those permits to hire those experts, if you get USDA inspected beef or whatever, they have a very expensive dude that comes there and he looks at the beef and says, yeah, okay, and he stamps a little rubber stamp on it. And about every 3 days, this guy will come. Not every day, every 3 days. So there's no guarantee, nothing. So it is an absolute scam.
Yep.
Save your money. Buy another greenhouse. I built my greenhouse for $400 recycled, old carports. I'm a 3 R's.
One of my projects this year. I just
Recycle, repurpose, and reuse.
Mhm.
3 R's. Remember that. That'll make your life so much cheaper and easier.
My whole house is upside resalvage. Like
Yep.
everything is salvage.
Yeah.
And it's cooler too.
It's
Who
so
wants
much.
to live in the same cookie cutter? Everybody lives in a little shoebox looking house. It's boring. Show me an earthship with some curves, or something that's built in underground, or a hobbit hole,
Tell
or a
people when they
tree
walk
house.
in
Show
here,
me.
there ain't
I
nothing
want
that's
interesting.
square
Yeah.
or flush or plumb. We're 18 feet across in the front and 21 feet across in the back, but we made it work, and it's beautiful. It's cute. It's my homestead's
Right.
really cute.
Right. And you have that sense of accomplishment.
Absolutely, so
And
much
there you
pride.
go. Yep.
I'm so glad you two are getting along and everything. I think it's pretty awesome. I knew that you two would hit it off really, really well. For the next half hour, I'm just going to let you two just talk to each other because it's so interesting the way you guys can just correspond with each other and everything.
Well, I think we have so much common ground. I think
Well,
that's
that's
the
when you
key.
said I thought you guys would. I mean, it goes hand in hand because everything that
It
he
does.
does already is stuff that I'm learning. Like a lot of people look to me like I know things.
We're an organic farm.
I'm just learning.
We all
too.
learn as we go, but
Yeah.
we're eco farm, so we are true to the name, but we're also an organic farm and research center. So we do a lot of scientific research behind what we do too. We
That's
have a
cool.
lot of cutting edge, and then we have the eco company which spun off of that, and that's really in green technology and physics and energy fuel, but it's
Nice.
all everything's sustainable. Like with the company, I'm not even doing it for money. I don't even care. I mean, I just designed an engine we took a patent on. It gets 125 miles to the gallon, 5 moving parts. It's 74 pounds, and it makes 600 horsepower. It will smoke your gas burner. It burns cleaner. It has no parasitic loss. But we've been doing stuff redundantly elementary for years. I mean, we've been building houses the same way forever, and we haven't improved. We haven't learned anything. I mean, come on. I want like what she has. She has like an unconventional, different home that has love, that has, design, it has character. And we spend this whole life trying, they condition us to be the perfect little slave. I will put it that way, because they want you to live in a little cookie cutter house and have your little cars and watch your ball games and your reality shows, and that's pretty much your life. And just earn the income so you can pay taxes. I like the people that's going to say, no, I don't like that. I'm going to build my own thing. They build whatever type of home. They drive maybe a heater, a beater with a heater. They're working on their stuff. They're saving money, but they're learning how to do things. That's freedom, folks.
That is freedom and wealth. That's with the whole thing I just wrote. I was like, I don't have a lot of money. And if you guys would cry if you heard about how much I made, I'm so far in the poverty level, and I could be on the front range. I am an experienced chef. I mean, like, I've got 30 years. I've owned 3 restaurants. I've taught culinary. I've cooked for famous musicians and politicians, and I could be making more money and living a more comfortable life, I guess.
Me too. I've got 2.
Your food is delicious. I mean,
I feel like I could work. I could make what I make, which is really not much at all. And I haven't had a bill, and like, I haven't had bills. I don't have bills.
What's money good for? What's money good for? To get you things. Why? Because we've been consumers. I just want to build this
homestead up. That's all. Like, I don't even need anything else,
Right.
So,
and we need communities of people doing this. Here's the key. We look at things like Dubai. It's like, oh, wow, they built this island out in the middle of the desert, and pump water to it. How stupid. I mean, we need cities where people are doing exactly what you do and learn to barter with one another. That's what we're working to do.
There are so many, not enough people who have, and this is the pat on my back because I didn't even know that I had this in me, but the self-start and the commitment to doing it, because I tell people, do you know how many times people have told me, oh, I could do what you do. I could do what you do. I've always wanted to live off grid.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, maybe you could come out here and you could do it for a week. Take some pictures. Maybe you could come out here and you could even do it for a whole season. But if you're thinking about the fact that in 3 years, you're still going to be hauling water and splitting wood, and maybe that's by choice and maybe it's not. Do you want to do this long term? And there's not enough people in the world who have that kind of commitment, I feel like.
You're exactly right, because we as a fundamental culture, I've been to 43 countries, so I've seen stuff all over the world. But I will honestly say that one of the best fundamental things I learned was as a kid, when Star Wars come out, The Empire Strikes Back, there's a line where Yoda's in the swamp and Luke Skywalker, he's trying to get him pick up an X-Wing fighter with his brain waves, with the Force. And he looks at Yoda and he says, okay, I'll try. And Yoda scolds him. He says, try not, do or do not. There is no try. And that was the wisest philosophy I've ever found in my life. If you eliminate the word try, you will win the battle, because you have to learn to prioritize and take baby steps. And every day, if you live your life to have some sort of success every day, even if it's small victories daily, you'll get where you're going.
Yep. It's so funny because we fundamentally, I post that all the time. It's like, find something to be grateful for every day. And I also just said, I say I post because I don't, that's my friends. My friends all live in my phone.
But
I was like,
too. I feel you.
We don't give up around. If giving up is not an option, then you got to figure something else out.
That's right. Don't plan for failure. If you plan for failure, you give yourself an excuse to get an out.
Yep.
Get rid of the idea of a failure. The word try is a excuse for a failure. That try is just as good as not doing.
There's so many people who don't accomplish anything because they're like, oh, I can't do that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't figure that out. But
you can do anything
bad enough, you'll figure it out. Whatever it is.
You are a wonderful illustration of that. Because I get so mad because people say, well, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I couldn't possibly. And a lot of times women feel, and see, as a Chaligi man or Cherokee, our women are our equals. So we've always had very strong-willed women, and we're a matrilineal society. So our women owned everything. So they were part of our leadership, part of everything. But to me, it's important that, like, I've heard women say, well, I can't work on my car. There's a YouTube video for just about everything now. And seriously, if you just break down, look something up, You might have to look through 2 or 3 videos. You'll see exactly how to do something and figure it out. I promise you.
Mhm.
Just don't get frustrated. And if you get mad at something, like if you're working on something, you can't fix it. Oh my gosh, I can't fix it. Leave it alone. Go sleep, go eat, go have a meal, watch TV, whatever. Come back to it tomorrow. It'll
Yeah.
still be there and you'll figure it out and say, oh, well, that wasn't so hard. And you'll just whiz right through it.
Cry a little bit. You forgot the crying part. I do that.
Sometimes you get frustrated, but that's when that music
Mm.
therapy, and I'm big into like aromatherapy, music therapy, those type of things, hot baths with scented oil, scented, scented candles, those type of therapies where you treat yourself, it recharges your energy and your
Mhm.
psyche, get your energy, I say PMA, positive mental attitude. If you get your PMA up, ain't nobody can bring you down.
Yep.
Play me some music that you really enjoy. When you get down, I promise you won't stay down. Even I was
I
playing
just go outside and
60s.
I just take a look around. I have this amazing like
Yeah.
360 view. I don't know if you've been to the middle of the valley,
Mhm.
near Mop, and I just like there is not a spot around me that I can't see these majestic
You can always
mountains.
hop in a Jeep or a vehicle and take a ride over to St. Elmo, Colorado.
That is up over the path,
Oh my
the valley.
God, that is gorgeous.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
That
that's by.
is absolutely gorgeous.
Where is that at? Is that by
Oh,
Mount
that is a big
Princeton?
ghost town.
Is that by Mount Princeton?
Yeah,
By Boyd
it's up by Leadville.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
But anyway,
Leadville's
put it this way: you're going up in the mountains on both sides, right? So in the middle of June, the mountains are snow covered. You
Yep.
get up there, and there's this 1800s village, seriously left exactly like it was in the 1800s,
Hmm.
and like it's a 4-wheel drive road to get up to it. But like me, my goofy tail, I went up there in a brand new Volkswagen Jetta station wagon.
Mhm.
They could not figure out how I got up there, but I'm used to running rock quarries, and us hillbillies, we're going to do the 4-wheeling, so we know how to drive. 2-wheel drive car, I'm up the top. They're laughing because all these dudes are on jacked up trucks, and I went around a lot of them stuck. But if you go up there, it's a slice of heaven. But see, that's another thing. Finding and recharging yourself in nature or in your surroundings. I mean, sometimes you just look at a road and wonder, where's that go?
Oh,
I'm bad to just hop it. We're hopping the Jeep or the truck or the van and go. We'll drive that road. We don't care where it goes. We're going to turn out
absolutely.
somewhere. You
Absolutely.
find some cool stuff, you'll recharge your energy, and you're ready to go.
And I work at a hot spring, so I have access to like hot magic waters all the time. I go and soak a couple times a week.
That's
One of the
good stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is. It just occurred to me if I'm out there soaking, which I have been, Chrissy, a million times, I'm soaking in moon water because it's been out there during full moons.
Yeah. Yeah. You are correct there.
Yeah. So it just occurred to me, like I don't
It
know
is.
why. I've been soaking there for
It
8
is.
years.
That's why you're so magical.
It
Not.
is.
Yeah, because of the
The
moon water.
moon has a lot of energy to it.
You
And
do.
Because
She do.
look at all the farmers' almanacs. That
Huh?
information come from us indigenous Native Americans.
Next
We
Palmer's
say
almanac.
we say
I have it on
we
my
say
table right now.
right. And see, well, here's the thing. I don't follow a white calendar. I follow the 13 Cherokee moon calendar because there's 13 full moons every year.
Yeah.
28 to 29 days and a half, around the turtle shell. You can count the shell, the scales on the shell and tell the calendar. You can predict the weather with it. They want to say, oh, things are difficult. No, the natural world, things are simple.
So
And
much
that's
better.
what works.
yeah.
But
So
yeah,
Jen, do you have any questions for Mark about something that can help you out with your homestead?
Well, I've been asking him along the way, but I was just thinking, I start all my starts every year, and I don't really do much. All I'm doing is herbs and like lettuces, and I have to have beds, because I don't have the ground amended, so I have to bring
Mhm.
in soil. And I know how to grow cannabis, but I'm wondering what the difference is for when you're transplanting from what you would make your beds a mixture of out here. I'm going to
If
have
I
a small enclosed plastic, like 10 by 12 raised bed greenhouse.
go to a deciduous forest part of your property if you have it, because there's a lot of pines there. The pines won't work.
Nary a tree anywhere on my property, nowhere.
No
But I
no
can walk
trees,
in
so
there.
you're all grass. You're all
I
grass.
love you know what Chico bush is?
Yep.
Okay, so it's
Okay.
completely Chico. And
Okay.
rabbit
Well,
grass, I think they call it rabbit grass.
yeah, you're really going to have to compost and create your soil at that point, because your soil, you're going to have to create the amendments to work. And honestly, it's something that'll last long term. So it'll go from season to season. I would recommend specific varieties of produce, which I can recommend to you. Heck, I'll even send you seed. I'm that dedicated to see you do different things. But one thing I would recommend is using Ken Bartholomew's method. It's called square foot gardening. And he has a book out called Square Foot Gardening by Ken Bartholomew. It is insightful, it works, and I'll tell you why I learned that process. I've been paralyzed from the waist down twice due to injuries, and I couldn't bend over and bend and stoop. I have 9 broken vertebrae. I walk around just fine now. I mean, I do all my farm stuff. I can run a little bit, and I'm not going to do any crazy martial arts anymore, but I can still take the left foot and put it over a 6-footer head. So I do okay for an old cripple. But square foot gardening, I highly suggest, and look him up. He's online. You can get a lot of information free about that. It does work. The Back to Eden method, I like my friend Starry Hilder. She had some good information. You can look her up online. I think now she's called, she was Simply Sustainable with Starry, and she's changed names a couple times, but Google Starry Hilder. She's an excellent resource. Their soil amendments and types of doing stuff. Now she was in Idaho, and I think she's now in North Carolina. But that Back to Eden method would work for you. I would suggest finding somebody that does wood chips, and anybody that's got a tree surgeon business that wants to dump wood chips. Allow them to dump some on your property free. Just spray it down with water and treat it with some of that septic bacteria and watch what starts happening. Throw food scraps on it, throw cardboard into it, and just let it start working. And before too long, you're going to have good soil. And you know what hardware cloth is?
Uh-huh.
Okay, take you some hardware cloth and build you a wooden frame. And when you get ready for your compost, start putting it through that screen, and anything falls out the bottom is small enough to be in your garden. So you don't have big particles when you're digging in there with your bare hands. But if you'll put that in your greenhouses or your hothouse, if I was doing where you were doing, I would run 2 layers, and I can teach you how to heat and cool that greenhouse using simple physics without energy cost. I'll show you how to do it off grid without having to have a stove in there. Okay. And if you don't believe me, I'll recommend you to a couple friends, and I'll show you people growing citrus in Nebraska.
You have no reason to not believe you.
Yeah. So, I mean, seriously, there's ways to do this. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to know, because then, heck, you won't have to buy their stuff.
We're talking about for that amending of the soil, that would probably take several months to turn, right? So for this year, because I'll have to start my starts in here, I can't put anything outside till the end of June.
Find a dairy barn or a horse farm and do you have a pickup truck or a trailer?
Yeah.
I'm sure you do, living out there. Go and offer to clean their barns out. I know it sounds crazy, but use that. That will get a start. If you want to take that material, you can't use it real green, so it has to be a little older. But get somebody that has some older that's built up. A lot of times farmers are all too glad to get it out of their way.
Go home, take some scoop. I got my chicken goat.
It's too hot. It's too hot. It'll be too acidic. If you leave the chicken poop out for a year, it'll lose that acidity and it'll be more manageable, but you can't use it fresh.
Okay.
But if you'll use like the old broken down horse manure or cow manure with sphagnum moss, that works great. Or if you go to a deciduous forest where the leaves have broken down, rake the leaves back and get that black soil from the top. That's all broken down leaf compost. That works well.
What about
But
bison?
that'll also bison manure work great. Yes,
We
buffalo
got
chip.
tons of it. Tons of old buffalo chips. Tons.
That works. Gather it up and start using that as a resource. You know, Native Americans would use that dried out as fires in their fireplace.
Yeah. Well, they also like covered covered things with it. They made it like an adobe.
They
I'm
did.
I'm
Yep.
not down yet.
I'm not down with that either, too. I don't know. It's just the thought of that, but it did work. They were smart.
Hands on, even for me. You know.
Well,
But
they're
I
building
burn it. I burn
skyscrapers.
it.
They're building skyscrapers in your part of the country before Columbus came. The
Yeah.
Anasazi. You know,
How-
Manitou Springs and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I hope they were not using cow dung or
Yep.
bison dung.
Oh, it was something. Trust me.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea. I hadn't even thought because there's like I have bison. There's bison poop out here for days.
Well, so you have resources right there. Plus the grass. If you cut the grass and allow it to naturally break down over time, it will turn into a great compost. But you have
Okay.
to start you need to start a dedicated compost bin. And if you have high winds,
I do have a
get you a-
dedicated compost, but it's got everything in it. It's got the chicken. It's got my chicken.
just expand it.
when
Just expand it or add another one.
5 by
You don't
3.
need the soil. Oh no, that's too small. You need probably I would say a 20 by 20 pit to be putting
Okay.
stuff to start really getting serious. But remember this, you only need 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot square of soil to raise a plant, right?
Right. I
And
didn't
especially
know
if you're
that,
adding organic natural fertilizers, that's more than sufficient to raise any kind of plant you want. You know, outside of a tree. And I love trees. I'm tree hugging hippie.
because of the water table here, I can't even really grow many kind of trees. I can grow the kind of willow that spreads horizontally, but anything that roots down will drown out here.
Bamboo.
Crazy. It's a desert,
Bamboo.
but nobody
Bamboo.
will. The only thing that they do is red willows. Is that the bushy one? And
Yeah.
lilac trees.
Well,
And then
red willow is a rooting hormone. It has a natural, just boil the water off of it until it starts turning brownish. Let it cool, and it's a natural rooting hormone for cloning.
Nice.
And then
Once
if
we
you're
get my water trench down here, I got to get the water down here first. It's like
get you some bamboo. Get you some bamboo. I promise. You're gonna be excited.
I could grow that around my little pond for sure. But my pond, my water source is 1,500 feet away from me, 3 feet downhill. I didn't know. It was one of the things I didn't know was when I put my homestead where I did. I didn't know how hard it would be or where the water was. The whole thing. So
yeah, I can show you how to make biological filters for like your gray water. Natural, using 5-gallon buckets. So it's pretty easy. Yeah, it's pretty easy. I show you how to make a lot of things, but I'm going to do some videos which you might have interest in because I want people like you to know more ways of doing things.
Where do you post
And
those?
you got to understand, I've dedicated my life to exploring this stuff because like I was pretty young. I was like this oddball kid, didn't fit in because I was too red to be white and too white to be red. So I lived in a pretty racist area. They didn't like me because I was indigenous. And, and I spoke my language, which, all my cousins, as far as I know, didn't learn. So, yeah, and I do speak it fluent. I love it. It's part of who I am, but it helps me be tied to nature. But if everybody took the responsibility with the earth like you are, with the water, with their natural resources, this world could be an Eden again. Seriously, it is an Eden. We just don't use it like that. You can have a perfect paradise anywhere you are. We just have to have the willpower to do that.
Definitely.
Medicine.
Where can she? I mean, okay, so we're still alive. So where can people find you, Mark? Or do you have a YouTube channel?
I'm the Eco Farm out of Sweetwater, Tennessee. Most people call me Farmer Brown, but I got locked out of that page, and my YouTube got taken down for I don't know what. I don't even know what I said, but I'm unconventional, so I'm liable to have said something that stepped on a toe somewhere. I don't know how, but you know how we are. We're in one of those worlds, so that will be coming back up, probably new content, which is fine. I'm going to start a new series that takes, I'm going to use the Eco Farm here, but I'm going to show you how to take like nothing and turn it into something. I think
Where
that's
where,
the
where are
fun.
you gonna where do you find those videos?
It'll be the Eco Farm out of Sweetwater, Tennessee, and that's ECO, eco like ecological.
Is that on
And
Facebook?
yeah, I'm on Facebook,
Okay.
and I have the Eco Company as well too.
Okay.
Um, when you want to look for the fuel side of me, you got to look on LinkedIn under Colonel Mark Brown, and that's my Eco Company profile.
Okay.
People tease me about that. I'm a Kentucky Colonel, so it's a big joke. But
Got any
but it
fried
works
chicken?
well. Well, it's a funny story. My family actually owned KFC, the entire chain, for many years, and they did sponsor Harlan Sanders, and they're
Hmm.
from my dad's hometown. So yeah,
Wow.
our family was deeply tied to KFC, but
Awesome.
um, yeah. So I mean, that's kind of the joke, though. But I do a lot of social work, as far as in communities and stuff. I'm a Shriner, an Odd Fellow, Master Mason. No, we're not the Illuminati. I get that every time. I wish we were. We wouldn't have problems. But if we got 22 children's hospitals that help children. What I'm doing, 20% of my company is going to go to charity. Everything that I make on the farm actually goes to my animal rescue. So we have Chicanehay Animal Rescue. So I feel passionate about social causes. I don't really need money because I can make anything I want. If I want something, I can make it. If I can't make it, I can earn it, or I can build it or create it or fix it or something. I get it if I want it. And you can too. That's the mindset you can develop. There's nothing in this world. You told me you wanted a Lamborghini. You can absolutely have one. You just have to put your mind to it and dedicate to it.
Absolutely.
Now, Jen, where can anybody find you at? I know you're on
Okay.
TikTok
So
still.
I on all my platforms, if you just look up the Off-Grid Kitchen Witch, you have to put the in front of it. So it's the Off-Grid Kitchen Witch. And I'm on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. There's another one I'm on, but I don't remember. It was one of the ones when TikTok, I went through like the 7 stages of grief when TikTok. It's for somebody who's off grid too. But I don't post anything cringy. Everything I post is TikTok, is homestead, canning, sourdough, mountain goat related. So I mean, if you want to
That's
know about
cool.
any of those things, cooking over a wood fire, ripping
Ooh,
goat hooves,
you
harvesting
make
eggs.
yeah. You make goat milk soap.
I know I have little girls. I was almost late today because I just got 2 little dolings.
Oh
But I only got 3
my!
winters, so I gotta get a Billy, and then we'll be doing it. I know how to make milk. I know how to make
Nice.
cheeses and soaps, so that part's down.
Ooh.
I got to get the milk first.
Oh, we're gonna get along good.
Well, we're almost to the closing. I just want everybody to know that if you do want to get a hold of Mark or Jen, and if you can't remember how, you can always reach within the cauldron glow at gmail.com. Subscribe to us. Our email is in the section, and just email us. I can take the message to them, of course. And, since everything is working out well with you two, I would love to have you both back. Um, if there's anything that you would like to do on our platform about off grid or organic gardening, and like you said, Mark, your YouTube is down now, but you could use ours Jen, you too. If anything happens to yours or anything, I know you have your own. Which we have to talk about that because we do have a team of podcasters, Swipe Mark, called the Mystics. We have to talk about that later. I would love for you to join us on our team.
Good idea.
Yes. But that's our show for this evening. And remember to subscribe.
Love you, Christy. It was very nice to meet you, Mark.
Pleasure
Craig.
meeting you. The Dug go, hey, till our paths cross again.
Well,
Yes,
just
sir.
stay put.
Sure they will.
We're just going to end the live and then we can chit chat. Okay.
Okay. Bye. Or do we?